So we have the January 17th meeting of the Conservation Commission. I'd like to stand and salute the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda, we have no Brian Corey. So let's skip over that discussion. We'll do to Paul Stike, RDA 16 Van Buren Street, construct garage in the buffer zone. Mr. Stike, you here?
Yeah.
How are you? You come to the odd mic stand, whatever you like.
Yeah, stand at the podium.
You want to describe what you're going to do? Or,
Yeah, so I will be building a 26 by 24 garage, approximately 25 feet off the road and approximately 60 feet from the 50-foot buffer zone.
all right.
Single, yeah, pretty standard. No plumbing, just electrical, no heat, nothing like that.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Stike, 16 Van Buren. This is a request for determination of applicability filed by the owner. The date of the report is January 11, 2023. This application came to us by him filing a building permit and realizing he was in the buffer zone. He cooperated, and that's why he is here this evening. The applicant has filed to construct a 26 by 24 garage in the buffer zone. The wetland is to the rear of the home and the edge of the wooded area. The garage will be constructed in a portion of the existing driveway and extend over into the lawn. The location will require the moving of existing well line to the home. The new section of driveway from the street will be gravel. Erosion control shall be placed around the work area as needed. Recommendations: Westport Conservation Commission should issue a negative box 3 determination for the proposed 26 by 24 garage.
Do you have any questions on that? Negative, negative is good. All right. Any questions from the table? If not, a motion would be great.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is that Tom?
Yeah.
All right, it's Tom and Phil. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. So if they all have the paperwork, do you mail that or do you call them? How do you get the paperwork, Chris?
Yeah, I'll mail it to him, or I'll call him to come by if you want, Paul, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Vamos.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
So we have, next one's gonna be continued. It's for Jenna Cermley and Rad, lot 26G, River Road, determine if resource area on a depicted on plan accurate. That's gonna continue to 131. So I need a motion to continue that hearing until 131.
Move to, go ahead.
Motion to continue.
Second.
Kevin and Phil, all those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
All right, let's continue. Next is Arrow Neon Sign Company notice of intent 1229 State Road to place billboard in buffer zone and riverfront area. That is also going to be continued to 131. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it was Phil and second from Tom. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Next one's going to, no, that's not, I'll just do the last continuance. Chris Simmons, Simmons Concrete notice of intent 6 Union Ave, regrade and replace parking area, clear fenced area, remove, replace timber bridge with riverfront. That will also be continued to 131.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Okay, next hearing is Amanda Rodriguez, notice of intent 156 Giant Web Lane, SE 82657, construct wooden stairway over the dunes. All right, Sean, it's all yours.
Good evening, Sean Leach, Northeast Engineers Consultants, for Amanda Rodriguez, at 156 Charting Web Lane. I was in front of you about a month and a half ago with this project. It was consisted of a elevated stairway going up the slope to the top of the dune. She she could access the beach. Originally, we had proposed a much longer pathway with a platform. We've since taken the platform out and a longer walkway. Mr. Capone and I had a site walk about a week and a half ago on this site. We suggested I shorten everything up. So essentially, the project consists of a walkway that goes up the slope. There's already an existing set of steps there that's just wearing into the slope. Actually, built into the slope. This is a better solution for that. With a walkway that gets through an unvegetated area onto the frontal dune, and then there's a path that goes down, around, and off to the beach, and it's very cut. It's a very well-worn path through this. This is more open dune with more wind blown. It's not as well defined, but she's gonna access the beach basically from that area, as it's been doing for the last couple of years. So the difference in this plan, what was before, we significantly shortened the length up here to get past the vegetation, just to get over and around to the path.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, as Sean mentioned, he was here before, and the owner did cooperate in eliminating some of the size of this project, so I do want to make that noted on record. This is 156 Cherry and Webb Lane, Amanda Rodriguez. This is a notice of intent filed by Northeast Engineers and Consultants and Sean Leach representing. I forgot to change the date of the report, but it was October 18th, 2022. To revise to the 1/17/23. Description of the work: the owner has filed to propose an elevated stairwell on a coastal dune located to the rear of the property. An existing rope system and deteriorated stairwell to climb the dune is located currently at the site. The access to the top of the dune must meet the CZM guidelines and the Wetlands Protection Act requirements 310 CMR 10.28. That's for activities in the coastal dune. The stairwell design is represented as 2 feet above the existing dune, which meets the standard at a minimum. The representative has provided a more detailed narrative of the method, materials, and future access to the beach. This narrative has been accepted by Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program and is pending their final comments, which we have received with no adverse comments. The design boardwalk will be constructed using helical piles installed with a handheld backpack auger system. The pressure-treated 4x4s will be installed above the dune to support the structure. The design needs to maintain 2-foot setbacks above the dune and have the ability to be adjusted if the dune migrates. The dune within this section is very unstable. This is the discussion we had with the homeowner and Sean. The wind actually whips through this area because of the lack of vegetation. So I felt the more she put up there, the more it had potential to be covered. The owner has agreed to limit the access stairwell to terminate at the top of the dune. They agreed to maintain a footpath access along the existing access, which in turn, Sean mentioned, has been kind of pronounced by use by others. And she's willing to allow that continued use as well as allow herself to get over to that pathway. Removal of debris and glass is acceptable by hand. She had a concern for in the hollow of one of these areas. It's all notoriously known for fires, and there are remnants of glass and cans and other materials she'd like to try to remove because of potential harm to an animal or her pets. I did express to her that the dune is in a recreational area, so we really shouldn't be throwing the ball for the dog, but if I go there on the weekend, I'd probably be telling everybody the same thing until I was blue in the face. So I just want to express that to them. She was concerned about trespassing, which can be somewhat, because of people not supervising this area, it does seem to happen. So she's limited the work, what Sean has shown you. The stairwell will come up to the top of the dune, and the path takes a 90-degree turn, so I allowed them to maintain that footpath on top of that dune. And then she had it coming back and going up back into the dune on another angle, so I didn't think it was necessary because it was downhill. So I thought this was a much better thing. So it's gonna end on a landing and just have a few steps down to the dune, and then I expressed to her that we'd like her to see her maintain continued access to the beach as is currently there. She agreed to that. So recommendations for the board this evening, Westport Conservation Commission should approve the constructed stairwell access up the dune with helical piles installed by a backpack unit with a revised plan provided, which is here this evening. The stairwell access must maintain 2-foot separation above the dune at all times. Access to the beach must be followed by using the existing pathway, and no further access paths to be constructed. Removal of glass and debris by hand only is allowed. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Sean, on the last one we did, we also had a, no motorized electric gas vehicles on the dune itself. You know, people think that, you know, they wanna take like.
That's no problem. Yeah.
This one couldn't, in the sense, the way this one's designed, Mr. Chairman, it's
Okay.
pretty much a, if you pull something up this, you're gonna definitely be a little winded when you get to the top stair.
All right.
Yeah, it's steep.
So it's not, this one, the Xanus has kinda had more of a landing type setup like that, and
Right.
made it a little more ability to rest in between.
All right, any other comments, questions?
I would just say, appreciate, you know, the applicant and engineer and Chris for working through this in a way that really does minimize the impact, so
Yeah, it's
I
much
appreciate
better.
that.
Absolutely. All right, if no other questions, we have a motion?
So I would move to approve the constructed stairwell access to the dune in accordance with the plan and the narrative that has been reviewed and approved by Chris, and subject to the conditions that Chris has laid out in his report.
Do you have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous then.
Thank you.
Chris, everything, Chris, Sean, how do you vote?
That's a popular spot for parties.
Six. Oh, you should close the place?
George Campbell.
Well, don't say this path's already there, but I mean, this spot, like, with the access to here, this is like, of course people.
All right, so we have some bills. East Bay Media, $123 for advertising. Need a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Second.
Second for Phil, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We have WB Mason, $46.97 office supplies. Motion to pay?
Motion to pay, approved. Second.
Second.
I'll do it all.
For a second. Phil just did it all. For a second.
First.
All in favor? Thank you. We have the minutes from January 3rd. Let's see who's here. Jake, myself, Phil, Tom, Bert, and Jason. Let's see, we have me, Phil, Tom.
It's
and
four.
Bert. Yeah, we can do that.
It's four.
All right, so we need a motion to approve the minutes from January 3rd.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, beautiful. All right, we'll pass these down to you guys to sign. Chris?
Just information for the board. I've been in contact with 2 different engineering companies that are working through the MVP grants for the city of Fall River and the watershed of South Watuppa Pond. They are looking at some improvements to bring before the town to help eliminate some direct discharges from street runoff into the pond. One area I know of is at Shabbat and Tickle Road. The other area, I'm not sure, because that was a different engineering company. So I guess these grants were applied through the city of Fall River and put this Westport component, I think there might be a component in Tiverton as well, working to try to, I think it was Bay Coast, and Bay Coast Bank initiated with some money down, and it got people to spearhead, I think, this project. So I'll keep you informed. I haven't seen the details of, the one proposal they had is just not gonna work in our environment here with the water table being so high. They were proposing a giant infiltration system underground, and with the water table in that Tickle Road, Shabbat Street area being almost 2 feet below the surface, I don't think that would function as they planned, so they might have to think of something different. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I can't speak for Brian. I never heard anything from him, except all our correspondence that went out.
Well, just to say, there is nothing, in a sense, formally in front of us now. So the way I see it is that Mr. Corey requested us to review a protocol, and we reviewed a protocol, and I don't think we're under any compulsion to act on it.
No, we're not. This
So-
is more, and he requested to be on
Right.
the agenda.
Right, so,
Yeah, I don't know if you can act on it. I think you have to wait till the state finish their superseding audit to see what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're-
well, yeah, and that's possible too. I mean, and not necessarily, right now, but, I mean, it gives an opportunity for George, our hydrogeologist, to look at what has been, recommended by Buzzards Bay hydrogeologist, but I still think we should, I guess, just to continue the matter until Mr. Corey decides to either move on it or submit an NOI to operate, in which case, then it will kind of be in a different.
I think we're
Position.
ahead of the game in our
Yeah,
defense
exactly.
for
Yeah, yeah.
reasons with George's cooperation
Right.
and some of the information that's been presented. It sheds some light on that. I think truthfully, there is a concern, as we thought there would be, and to have the Fish and Wildlife, for the record, Phil was able to get in contact with cold water fishery specialists from the division, and he has been very supportive of this idea that very much so, Angeline is one of the most pristine cold water fisheries in the state, and that they certainly don't want to see this jeopardized, as we have seen. I believe a couple other potential streams in town have seen some loss because of this drought season we had. So people have to understand these species, the trout can be decimated in an area because they don't really have any interaction. Sometimes they get trapped in a section of the stream historically, and they're able to sustain themselves. But once that section or that population is exterminated, it can't replenish itself. So that's where the critical part of some of these feeder streams we have are so crucial. So with this protocol, I think this helps the commission establish the true meaning of Westport when you drill a well, and what its actual ramifications could be. Everyone just thinks there's so much water in the ground and it's not going to affect anything, but in the matter of what Westport has as far as these pristine cold water fisheries, it's all due to temperature, and that truly is an influence by groundwater that makes these streams maintain that temperature. So I think any well field that would be in close proximity, I know there has been some concern for a sort of public water supply in the harbor. The areas that they were looking at were also within Simon Brook, which is also, in my opinion, a potential cold water fishery. So I think the work that we've done does give us some leg up in knowing what to expect next time. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I can only ask that if I hear from Mr. Corey again, I will let him know. We were disappointed he didn't make it. And also for the record, as Phil had mentioned, Foley and Hogue, rather, for the Buzzards Bay Coalition's attorney for the superseding proceedings that are going before the DEP on this matter. They did provide a letter of support to the commission for their action in seeking Fish and Wildlife support, as well as us looking further into the impacts of this actual well installation and those overall impacts to the Angeline Brook itself. They outlined basically what they would like to see and support with what our Campbell Environmental, our hydrogeologist has found as well. So I just wanted for the record to mention they provided that with their Horsley and Witten's hydrogeologist's comments. I think Phil gave George a copy of this. If George wants to add to it at some point and forward us some comments, I would be fine with that. And I also, for the record, I think we should make known that I think we should pay Mr. Campbell for his trip here for not having a meeting, I still think obviously he's obligated to get paid for his time away. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Have we paid you up to date so far? Yeah? Took a while. It's like government, it goes slow, but you get it eventually.
Thank you very much.
All right, just want to make sure you get paid.
I appreciate that.
All right. Still waiting for my paycheck now.
Yep. Yours is stuck in the mail. I think it's on the North Pole.
Well, if we have nothing else, then let's motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, Alan.